Hey, what's going on, everybody? So it's Saturday night, and on the weekends I normally cook dinner for the family. And we've been out shopping all day, and so I don't really have time to whip up anything elaborate. So I figured now would be the perfect time for me to show you guys my secret weapon for whipping up a gourmet meal without much effort. Ta-da! So this right here is probably my favorite thing in my kitchen. This is a sous vide cooker. You use a sous vide cooker to cook proteins like steaks or pork chops or even fish or chicken. The way that you cook with a sous vide cooker is you put whatever you're cooking in a waterproof bag, like a Ziploc bag or a vacuum sealed bag, and then you immerse it in a pot of water. And what this baby does is it heats that water to a constant temperature, which slowly heats the temperature of your protein to that desired temperature, but no higher. So this takes all the guesswork out of preparing the perfect steak. You get the precise temperature that you're looking for every single time. When you're dealing with leaner proteins like chicken, you don't have to worry about it drying out because you know exactly what temperature you need to cook it to. And the great thing is after you've put it in the bag and set it in the water bath, you can just leave it there for a few hours even, so you can just go about your day. I honestly don't know how I lived without sous vide. My life is so much more delicious and so much more convenient now. So tonight, let's go ahead and cook some steak. You can see I've already prepared a pot of water. I'm gonna go ahead and stick my sous vide cooker in there, and I'm gonna plug it into the wall. Now the sous vide cooker that I have is called a Joule. The thing that makes a Joule special is that you control it through an app that you can download on either Android or iOS. And the cool thing about the app is it gives you preparation instructions for a lot of really common things that you can cook with a sous vide cooker. Now there are other versions of sous vide cookers too. I think the Joule is super cool because of the fact that there are so many recipes included in the app, because it guides you through the preparation instructions and it shows you something called visual doneness. So if you don't necessarily know whether you like something rare or medium rare, you can just look at a picture and gauge based off of that, and it'll let you know what temperature you need to cook it to get to that level of visual doneness. Super ingenious. All right, so I've got my smartphone here. And today we're going to be making some New York steak. I'm actually going to go a little bit on the rare side, because I know from experience that's about how I like it. I've actually frozen my steak, and it's a pretty thick guy. It's about an inch big. It tells me right up front that my cooking time is going to be 1 hour and 30 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and start my Joule. And there it goes. It starts circulating the water, and it's got a heating element in there that will heat my water to temperature. All right, now while that water is heating up, what I've got here is a prime grade New York strip steak that I got at Costco. This is another thing that I love about Joule, because you can go to Costco, you can buy some prime beef in a multi-pack, and you can individually vacuum seal them. And you see here, I vacuum sealed this steak with a nice stick of butter. I've seasoned it with some Himalayan sea salt and some pepper, and it's been absorbing those seasonings since I put it in here. And the nice thing about Joule is, since it heats things up so slowly and so gradually, it really doesn't matter if you start with frozen or if you buy it fresh. The results are actually gonna be pretty similar. So in addition to the New York steak, Monica and I bought something pretty special from H Mart today. Let me go get it. Oh yeah. So this is a package of American Wagyu beef. It's got ridiculous marbling, but it's cut really thin. And honestly, I've never dealt with this cut of meat before, and so I'm not sure what the best way to cook it is. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take half the package and I'm gonna cook it sous vide. And then I'm gonna take the other half of the package and just sear it in a cast iron skillet. I'm gonna test which version comes out better. All right, so I got a notification on my phone that the water is preheated and it's ready for me to throw the steak in there. So let's go ahead and grab that steak, put it in the water bath. Luke.
Hey.
Hey, are you excited to help me make some steak?
Yep.
How do you like sous vide steak?
It makes me, you know, like have to have like a bigger face and then shove it in my face. I want a whole entire plate bigger than my face this time, like the chicken wings video.
Nice. Okay, cool. Well, let's go ahead and grab the steak so we can get it cooking.
Google crazy!
Okay, so now while the New York steak is getting all cozy in its water bath, I'm gonna go ahead and start prepping the Wagyu beef. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bust it out of the container, season it with some salt and pepper, and then I'm gonna take half of it and put it in a vacuum sealed bag, and the other half I'm just gonna reserve for when we're ready to sear it so that we can compare them side by side. Since the Wagyu beef strips are so much thinner than the New York, I'm gonna put it into the water bath with about 30 minutes left to go. I think that should be enough time to get them up to temperature. All right, so it's been about an hour and a half, and so now it's the moment we've been waiting for. It's time to pull the steaks out of the pot. I'm gonna put them on a cutting board and tap them dry, and then we're gonna sear them. Now, the absolute best tool for the job for searing is this. It's my good old trusty cast iron skillet. It gets really hot, it retains the heat really, really well, and it just gives a really nice sear. So I'm gonna start by preheating it, so that way as the steaks are drying, the pan will be heating. Hopefully within just a few more minutes, we're gonna have some steak. Okay, so this is the Wagyu beef that came out of the sous vide bath. As you can see, the slices are pretty thin, so I think if we throw them into the cast iron skillet, they're at risk of being overcooked. So I'm gonna test out what I think is an innovative solution for this. So the cast iron skillet is preheated. Now it's time for me to add a little bit of oil. For this, it's important that you use an oil with a really high smoke point. Now, in terms of oils that are keto friendly, that have high smoke points, I'd recommend avocado oil. Avocado oil has a smoke point of somewhere in the it says right here, up to 500 degrees Fahrenheit, which is really, really hot. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some into the skillet here and let it preheat. The oil is hot. I'm gonna go ahead and put in the Wagyu. Okay, now I'm gonna have to work really, really fast because these strips of beef are so thin. Okay, so I've pulled the Wagyu beef out of the skillet. I'm slicing in right now to check the cook. You can see how it's got a nice sear on the outside, but the inside is still pretty cool. That's pretty close to rare, actually, but it's a very harsh transition to the edge. So let's go ahead and give this a taste. Again, this is the one that we did not cook at all before we put it into the skillet. I don't know, that tastes pretty delicious. It's really fatty, you can really taste the marbling. The sear gives a little bit of a crunch, and the salt definitely comes through. Let's try the Wagyu that we cooked sous vide and then burnt the crap out of with this blowtorch. You can look at the inside, it's pink throughout. Let's check out this piece. There you go. It's probably a better indication. That looks pretty medium rare to me. And the thing that's nice about cooking sous vide is you can see, as you compare these, the color is a lot more gradual. So this is medium rare throughout. This is kind of rare in the middle, medium rare, closer to the edges, and then like really well done on the edges. So this should be a much more consistent experience. Oh man, that is so good. I actually thought that the sous vide steak would be softer. It has more of a steaky texture. It's got a more pleasant mouthfeel. You can't go wrong with either. They're both just delicious. Let's see what Monica has to say about it.
This one here is the one that we cooked in the cast iron skillet, right? So let's see what we've got here. That's pretty delicious. It's really flavorful. You can really taste like the fat in it, but it's not like overpowering. Kind of melts in your mouth. Really good mouthfeel. So let's try this one. This is the one that we cooked sous vide first, and then Scott seared on the outside with the blowtorch. Also really good. I almost feel like the one that was cooked sous vide was a tiny bit more melt in your mouth, and that might be because of the fact that when you cook sous vide, you basically lock in all of those juices and the meat just kind of absorbs and the fat stays in there as well. But I mean, to Scott's point, you really can't go wrong with either one. I'd say time-wise, it's probably faster if you just throw it in the cast iron, but you know, it's really kind of up to you.
Taste test time. All right, we're gonna tell you A or B, and you get to tell us which one you like better,
Which
okay?
one's A? Is that one A?
This one's A.
A.
Is this sous vide or not?
I'm not gonna tell you yet.
It's pretty juicy.
Mm-hmm.
Seasoned well. It has a lot of fat, what makes it better.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty crispy.
So this is B. Tell us whether you like A or B better.
They're pretty similar, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I would say bacon, the first one.
Okay, what do you like better about the first one?
It's just a little bit juicier than the other one. for
The first
me.
one was a little bit juicier for
Yeah.
you? You like it?
Yeah.
Okay, so Lucas likes the one that we didn't sous vide and we just cooked in the cast iron.
Nice. You want more? Of course you do.
All right, well, now let's go ahead and get the New York on the skillet. So this steak looks delicious. I topped it off with some of those Chinese chives that we picked up at H Mart, just to give it a little bit of a subtle oniony taste. And now I'm gonna take my first bite, and I am so excited. It's funny, I totally forgot that I vacuum sealed this steak with rosemary, but the rosemary flavor was just so evident from the minute I took my first bite. There's nothing quite like prime New York steak, but cooking it sous vide just makes the meat fall apart in your mouth. It's probably one of my favorite cuts of steak. So I recommend you give it a shot if you haven't already.
Very excited about this.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the New York sous vide. How long do we sous vide this?
An hour and a half because it was frozen.
An hour and a half because it was frozen. Okay. Yeah, so no more talking. Oh gosh. That's really, really good. I definitely taste the rosemary. And there's something about those chives that kind of just lifts it a tiny little bit. But the steak is really tender, really juicy. We've tried steak so many different ways, but I have to tell you by far my most favorite way is cooking it sous vide. It's just really retains so much flavor, so much of the juices stay inside the meat, and it's so soft. It's delicious. Well done, love.
I think it's important that you know that when I met her, she did not eat red meat at all. Mission accomplished.